All right. The reason I named this video how to snipe an early entry using the overnight structured and market generated information. Kind of long in the tooth there for a title, but going to walk you through the thought process. I'm not going to go over the higher time frame stuff right now. This is just going to be focused on something that an event that happened in the overnight session and how we're going to use price action in the first, call it couple minutes to uh, basically snipe a long entry. And whether the trade works out or not is kind of irrelevant. It's just these are the things that you need to look for in order to get a really good entry point in anticipation for price to take off. So just a quick context: we are in all-time high territory. This level right here on the market profile is going to be the overnight high and also the all-time high. So this is, I think, like September 10th, 2025. And what we notice here in the overnight session, this is the prior day. So prior day high, settlement, overnight low. So we saw in the overnight session, we broke into all-time high territory. And we know that that's likely not going to last in the regular trading hours session, as in all-time highs are not usually made in the overnight session. But what we notice here is we've got the slow grind up, small correction, and then right at 7:30 or 7:15, probably seven. What was this? Right at 7:30, and this time you can see on the candle over here we had a massive spike up in price, right? Probably news driven. I can't remember. But this is the context that you want to see. So whenever you have a big emotional move like this, the question should always be: are we going to hold this level or not? If we had this big emotional move like this and then came back down and we were opening like inside of prior day range, that would be market generated information telling us that there was no volume or there was no liquidity up here. We didn't find any additional buyers, and so now we're coming back into this range that would be a short 100% of the time, right? What we do have here is that price accepted these highs. So what that tells me is that if I come over here to my chart, right here, so at 7:30, we've got this massive over 200% regular delta at that time, and you've got right around 450% usual of volume at that time. So that's a lot of money, a lot of pressure, a lot of volume, a lot of delta moving it higher. And then we see that again right here, just a couple minutes later. What that is telling me, and who knows, this might be incorrect, but at the end of the day, this is all probability anyway. Right here, the combination of these two candles, I'm using the 1 minute, right here and then right here. On the 1 minute, you can really zoom in to see what's going on these smaller time frames, whereas you're going to miss something like that on the 3 minute or the 5 minute. But on the 1 minute, you've got that happening twice. Once here, then once here. That is sort of a hint to me, and the fact that we opened higher, we accepted this high instead of rejecting it right away. That's telling me that somebody is pushing price higher, and they also want to keep price higher, right? That's that second push right here with high volume, high delta is telling me whoever this participant is that wants price to go higher, algorithm, hedge fund, sole trader, whatever it is, they want to keep price up. If price comes down inside of this range and inside prior day range, which would be even worse, whoever that is going to be off sides and they're going to have to liquidate. So, I mean, this is good. This is good information. Whenever you see this, this is going to be good either for the long side or the short side, because if they're caught off sides, then that short is going to go further. So anyway, let's follow what happens here. You can see right at the open. So this is 8:33, so we're 3 minutes into the open. Right at the open, we open here and we pushed lower fairly quickly, right? And so if that logic of this big move right here, when is that person or that one of those traders going to be start to feel pain? About right here, right? This is that range. I would say right here, maybe down to this level. I mean, you certainly don't want it to go lower than this range. You don't want it to accept in that range, so you want to see a pretty quick rejection if it's going to continue to go higher. And that's what we saw. right? Right at the open, right friggin' here. A lot of liquidation. 830 came right down to VWAP. And then what happened right after that? Right after that, we had this massive delta right here, over 200% of normal delta in that bar, coupled with like 158% of normal volume. And I'm just gonna hit play here, and we're gonna watch this play out. But that's essentially this is where what I mean by sniping your entry. If we opened right here and price quickly fell, and now we're gonna rebound, for sure the safe entry would be somewhere up here because that point you had price rejecting, bouncing right off of VWAP, and we came right back up. That's pretty bullish. When talking about sniping the entry, those are the reasons. Right here, this is where I would essentially get long. So, and here's the reason. Okay, following the sequence of events and the market generated information that I'm putting weight on in order. One is we're in all-time high territory that gives, let's call it a point to the bulls or to the long side. The biggest thing in the overnight session is this big spike right here and the fact that we're accepting of the spike. That is actually a little bit more, has a little bit more weight. Let's call it, if we give it 1 point for having that big spike and we're accepting, we'll give it another point because that big spike was high delta, high volume, coupled with high delta and high volume just a few minutes later, which is telling me we're likely going to accept this. This bounce off of VWAP here, I love using the VWAP and the standard deviations for this reason. That's a level that a lot of people are watching, and we bounced right off of that. We had this big drop right at the open, and we bounced off of that with high volume and high delta. Those items in order are what make me take a long trade right here in all-time high territory. The other things to consider is that we're opening up on a gap. So settlement right here, this is going to be a 28 to 53, so 25-point gap, roughly. That's a pretty big gap. The question is, are we going to fill that gap? My guess is not at this point. The odds are lower that we're going to fill the gap, and they're higher that we're going to go higher, right? For all of the reasons that I just said. But right here is where you would think if we're going to fill the gap, we would go lower. Instead, bounced off of VWAP with very high volume, high delta. The rest is history. So let's hit play here, watch it play out. You really want to see it hold the VWAP there if it's going to go higher. We're now above the open. Came right back below. Did not find additional liquidity. Our stop was not hit. And at this point, if price comes down to VWAP again, the trade idea is pretty much dead. But because we came down that low, I'd say that we don't have like a ton of confidence in breaking out and having success. But let's just watch and see what happens here. All right, at this point, here's the overnight high. We'd expect us to get to the overnight high given the information that we have. That's where you might peel off one, depending on how we get to the overnight high. It looks like we're going to be getting there on very low volume or low relative volume. Our vol's at 106%. Created our imbalance high and low. My take is that we're going to take out B period low before taking out B period high. But you still think we didn't see any big liquidation up here to suggest that whoever that long is getting out of their position. I bet you we come up and break the overnight high, and then we'll see liquidation from whoever that participant was. Let's see if it turns out to be right. Breaking B period low and not going lower is a good sign. So now you want to see bullish structure start to happen. Definitely don't want to break VWAP. Or if you do, you want to see a quick rejection. Wow. Okay. We're going to have a lot of volume here to push this higher. Got a lot of right here trying to hold that level. Let's see if they're successful. Nope. So that's the trade idea. Either way, you still want to take that trade. Man. That is a wild. This is kind of a real moment. Even in back testing, this is how the psychology kind of hits you. It's like, man, like all the ingredients were there. Looks like we are going to try to fill the gap. So the short idea here is if you weren't in that long and you were eyeballing shorts, just because we did approach that level with very low volume. I mean, look at this. This whole run right here. Look on the bottom there with the volume. Very, very low volume. Starts to pick up towards the top, but then you have increased volume as we're going down, suggesting that you have longs that are liquidating. And then finally, like the big drop. Excuse me. Or I'm sorry, that was in the overnight session. Oh, right here. Right here, approaching that level. Same story. Very low volume. Low, low, low. Tried to push it higher, failed. And then we just dropped off a cliff right here with low volume. So it's just approaching that overnight high. The reason I'm going over this is just the thought process is when we're approaching the overnight high and we come within, that's 3.66. So like 3, we came within like 3 or 4 points of the overnight high. When you back off of a level like that without going through it, like the market likes to use obvious levels like this to go to. And the nice thing is if what should happen doesn't, the opposite is usually as powerful. So what should have happened is we should have taken out the overnight high. What should happen doesn't. What should happen was that take out the overnight high. It didn't happen. So now we're likely going to be trying to fill the gap right here. So let's, for the heck of it, let's just see what happens. I'm just gonna hit pause. See, we don't have to go through this, and come back here in a moment and see how it played out. All right. So after quite a bit of back and forth, and going against the instincts of value is developing higher prior to the previous day, what was more powerful, the MGI that was more powerful in this today, was the idea that we were needing to close that gap. So, and that's actually exactly what I did. So basically when that loss was stopped out, the long was stopped out, immediately I went short very early to do that. And as a matter of fact, I got pretty close to my stop loss up here, but immediately switching the position, and I still came out on top on that day with a terrible location. Ideally you don't want to, I mean, this was a risky move just to make sure that, if price does fall off a cliff that you participate in it, but without waiting for more confirmation, you basically sacrifice a good location, which is what I did. But again, still profitable on the day. So it's possible to have terrible execution skills, but make money, right? So anyway, we attempted to break above the VWAP, created some bearish structure here. Again, this is why I like the 1 minute, just because you can separate everything and really see what happened internally under the hood, so to say. And then we just continued to fall. We tried to test VWAP a couple of times. See here an H period that broke one time framing twice. Then we just moved down. Left poor high here, poor high here. I had my take profit right at prior day high, right there. And then that's what brought us up to being profitable on the day. So anyway, good day to replay. Had a failed attempt that lost money, and then a successful trade to close the gap. So 27 points on the day. You can't argue with that, especially after taking a loser in the morning. So thanks.